Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I love you designers because you are really pushing forward in the world, and hopefully this is a really fun podcast for you to learn. You guys know I love to tell you the real story and get education from, as well as motivation. Hopefully this really motivates you to keep moving forward and becoming even better. So today, and you guys can see I'm like kind of cushy. If you're on the podcast, you can't see this, but I have been kind of moving around, sitting in different spots in my house, and that's been lovely for me. It's to give you guys a different change of scene if you're on YouTube, which, by the way, if you're on the YouTube channel, please subscribe. It is really helping us get the message out about great design. And for those of you who want to become great designers, we want to help you out and make sure that you are moving forward. So make sure and subscribe to the channel. If you're on the podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe there as well. All right, today we're going to talk about the criteria for choosing a great online shop, okay? So everyone's always saying to me, like, what's the online shop I should go to? And there is not a one answer fits all. I really like to assess people's design work, or I will take people to a place where I feel like we're seeing high trends to decide on a shop. So I thought I would talk to you guys a little bit today about some of the criteria I use to determine a shop if I'm working on a shop, okay? And I'm currently working on a couple of shops, two shops that we're trying to really get up and running, and it takes time. Because I've done this so many times, I don't get discouraged when I don't make money at something for a year. Yeah, that's a big deal. People will get discouraged within a month if they're not making money. For me, we cannot make money. This shop I'm currently working on, we haven't made money in it for about 6 months now. And we finally started seeing some traction in July. And I was like, okay, we're doing the right thing. We had to change a lot of what we were doing several times until we could get it right. That's just being a good design business, okay? So here are some criteria. I think some of you need to hear this. Those of you who really want more of a personalized, message, but personalized help, you're going to be in Design Suite, because that's where we're talking one-on-one. We're figuring out what business that you need to be creating so that you can start making money. It's as easy as that. So, and you can only join Design Suite by coming into a design boot camp. So I hope I get to see some of you. Those of you who've done a design boot camp, you know I talk about online shops as great distribution, okay? So the number one criteria I look for is a hard one to find, and that is, do I know anybody who's making at least 5 figures a month in that shop? Now, for some of you, you might be like, I'm cool, 4 figures. I want to see if someone's making a couple thousand in it. If I can find someone who's making over $10,000 a month in a particular shop, that's when I get very piqued. That's when I'm kind of like, interesting. Let's see what I can do with that shop. Okay, what do I have to do? That is really hard information to find out. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You have to know people, you have to come across that information, you have to be talking to people, and you really do have to be part of a community to find that kind of information out. And I think that if you're being very smart about it and figuring out ways to build that kind of community, that's when you can really win. And that's why we build our community the way we do in Design Suite, so that as our designers develop, become better, get to know each other, and really hopefully build strong bonds. That's always our hope, is that they build strong bonds. Then what will happen is they'll slowly go out into the world and they can come back to each other to get that information. I don't want my design program to be just like a one and done. That's not the way we work. Our goal is to build strong foundations, like they talked about in my How's Your Design Business Like a Garden episode, which is probably just last episode or maybe a couple before. And I want you to really think about, how do I build a strong foundation? So much of it, you guys, is your network. That whole adage of it's not what you know, but who you know, you guys, that is huge, because you can learn Illustrator all day long on the internet for free. It'll take you forever, but you can. But if you don't know who to talk to, man, that is huge. That is huge. And even especially now, as I'm working with some of the designers in my program on getting contracts, and you guys know I talk about contracts are hard to get. The only reason I do it is if a designer really has a strong urge for it and they finally have demonstrated abilities that make me think that they could get a contract, right? But if you don't have anyone looking over your shoulder to make sure that you're on that path, then how are you going to know like what you need to do, right? So yeah, that's my biggest criteria for a shop. Before I go into a shop, I have to find out if I know someone or I figured out a way to produce a certain amount of money, okay? Because I want to know that that is there, okay? The second thing I like to look for is longevity of the shop. So like how long has it been around and how long does it look like it can be projected to stay around? Now, this one's a little bit of a funny one, and for those of you who are just getting into this, you probably have zero experience, but the reason I do this is because when I got started, those of you who know, I started at 2 peas in a bucket. That was one of the first places I went to. It no longer exists. So when I start looking at shops and trying to decide like what is the, if I'm going to put 2 or 3 years into a shop so that I can really like focus in and put a lot of products in there, what is it going to take to get, like how long is it going to last so that I can make sure I'm making my money back on it, right? I think of my time in these shops as my investment, and my hope is to get a longer time return out of it. So I'm kind of paying attention to like how long has the shop been around? Is it a newer shop? How long do I think it has to go, So those are things that I really like to look at. Okay, so the third thing is, what kind of effort is it going to take me to get the right kind of momentum to make this shop work? So every shop is different, you guys. Every single shop is different. Some shops you can start with like 100 products and you're like, bam, starting ready to go, okay? There are other shops that takes me like 2,000 products to start getting any kind of momentum on. And that's what I'm talking about. Like I'm kind of paying attention, like what does it take to get the huge momentum that I need to be in a particular shop? Hopefully this is helpful, you guys. And it's crazy criteria, but I think it's criteria that works if you are really paying attention. Of course, I believe that just knowing the criteria isn't enough. Of course, it's who you know, and that's why I started my Design Suite program so that you would know me, you and I could talk, and we could figure out your next steps for moving forward. If you want that kind of relationship with a mentor, then come check out a design bootcamp because I would love to talk to you. We are just really crazy about producing great designers. There's so much bad design work out there, you guys. I mean, there really is. And if I have to see another thing that really clearly came from clip art because someone has not massaged it or made it better, we have a whole class on clip art in Design Suite. And people aren't doing it correctly. If I have to see there's a particular piece of clip art I've seen in so many shops, it clearly came from one person that hasn't been redone. I don't know how many people are really buying it, but it makes you look like you do not know what you're doing. And most people have no idea that they're doing it all wrong. And I've talked to lots of people on consults where I've seen this particular piece of clip art, and it breaks my heart because they don't want to hear the reality of it. The whole point of being a designer is that you are the base level designer. You're the person who's producing the stuff at this main level. It doesn't mean you can't use clip art. I really believe designers can use clip art, but you got to use it smart. You got to use it effectively. And it is tough sometimes for me to see things and not just be like, oh, how can I help you? Understand that you need to make some changes, okay? And that's part of the reason I do this podcast, because I'm hoping you're self-aware enough to realize that you need to make some changes. You got to figure out what criteria is really going to help you get to the next level. Okay, my last criteria is very simple. Is it trending? And very often, if I can figure out if something is trending, if I can see numbers rising in that particular field, that is a very powerful thing. All right, guys, you guys are awesome. Keep creating, keep being amazing designers. I can't wait to see you. I know I've got some workshops coming up. Yes. Well, we definitely have boot camps coming up, but I'm not sure when this one is coming out. But we've had some workshops recently happen. And those of you in Design Suite know that we've got a lot of good stuff happening this season because this is our good money-making season. And I love it. It's just really fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for everything that you're trying to accomplish. If you want to leave me a review, I would love it. It would help me out so much, and I appreciate you for doing this. And I will talk to you guys all very soon.
Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.